Hey guys, so I have a new tool for you guys who might be having trouble with chords and melodies and things like that when writing your tunes. And I'm not really going to get into theory. Theory goes a bit beyond what we're trying to do here, which is finish songs. And you can go pretty deep into theory. But I created some tools that can make this a little bit easier for you to get started and not have to worry about whether you're hitting the right or wrong notes and things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. I just have a basic pad sound here. Nothing too special. And what I want to do is make chords. So I'm going to drag in here. I've got two instruments. One's for major scales and chords and one's for minor scales. I'm just going to drag that in. And now we have a scale and chord setup within this instrument rack. So first thing I'm going to do is turn these things on. Here are these little arrows. And we're going to do a scale select. So as you see the little highlighted orange area here, as I play and switch the scale, it'll switch to show you what scale you're in. So I want to do a D minor scale. So let's okay, so now we're in the right scale. And now I gave a few different choices here for different chords. And you could take a look at them as I choose them. And you can, of course, make your own if you like as well. So this is just without any chords. And then we can move forward. As you can see over here, these are the extra notes. One's playing an octave higher, 5 semitones, and 9 semitones higher. So you can kind of see what each of these is doing. And once again, you can make your own. In here, in this area, you can just duplicate one of these by clicking there and duplicating, and then creating your own if you want. Now we've selected our chord and our scale. So now I'm just going to kind of hit a couple notes to make like a chord pattern, if you will. So I'm just going to turn on the metronome here. I'm not doing anything special. And we'll just hit record. And I'm just going to use those notes there. So and I'll just make this a 4-bar section. So let me just get rid of this. Double click on that and we'll create a loop. Put a 0 here. Yeah, so we're good there. And now we can just stretch that out. So now we've got that. I've dragged another of the same instrument here. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this because this already has the settings that I want. And then I'll paste it in here. There we go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn chords off. And let me put a little bit of attack on that. Oh, looks like we got 2 of these in here, so I'm going to turn that off there. And yeah, let's get a quick. And I'll go up an octave. Great. So now you can kind of just jam your idea. Now, if you wanted to, you could stretch this out for several minutes and just kind of play along with it until you kind of find something that sounds good to you, a little theme, if you will. I'm just gonna, let's stretch it out 16 bars and see what happens. So we got this track here armed now. That's our little part there. And then we kind of see what we think sounds good. Now, none of these notes are wrong, but there's just kind of a feel to a melody. So okay. So what I want to do here, let me just click here real quick. These are actually playing the same note because it's correcting. This would have been a wrong note. As you can hear, it's playing the same. So I'm just going to put this up and pull this over. So there's one note there. And there, okay. So there we go. I want that note right there. So I can just draw in any types of things. So and I want to change this note here to let's see how that sounds. And we'll just have that repeat at 8 bars. Just drag this over. And I might want to make something a little different here, but as you can see, it's very, very easy to get some chords and simple melody. Obviously, this is an example that is not specific to, most of the styles you're going to be doing, but I wanted to just give a very general example of how this can be used. And you can use it on any instrument you want, whether it be stabs or different types of sounds. They could even be percussive sounds if they're tuned, or what have you. So there's all kinds of interesting things that you can do. I just wanted to give you an example with a, fairly simple sound to use. Okay, so before I get off the subject, on this tool, I just discovered something that can make things easier. So definitely want to make sure both of these arrows are on, but go switch to chain and then switch back to hide on both of these. And then what you should be able to do is, as you scroll, as you see here, you'll actually see it go to each one. All right? And if you don't see that happen, go to chain and then just make a run through and then go back to hide. And then it should work accordingly. So that'll be much easier for you to see where you're at. Same with over here with your chord selector. So the next thing I wanted to show you is just a different approach to get inspired by some ideas. And that is simply to come in and do a search for MIDI files. So let me give you an example. Let's see, what would be a good song? Now, they're not going to have a whole lot of club songs, but you do want to find something that's melodic if that's kind of your goal, is to get like a melodic sound, right? But you could even do like U2 songs and, you know, put those MIDI parts into something different. Let's go ahead and try that. So I'll search U2 MIDI files and see what we've got here. So look at that. We've got all kinds of songs that we can play with. Let's try from the Joshua tree. Let's just try Where the Streets Have No Name. I know there's some kind of arpeggiated parts, delayed parts and things like that are kind of cool. So I just downloaded it, that's simple. And here's the part. So all I got to do is just take this and drag it in, like so. And it's going to ask if I want the tempo or whatever. I'll say no, because I'm assuming that we might already know what kind of tempo we want. I'll go with 110 on this idea. So if you're lucky, these are going to be named so you kind of know what each part represents. So like this part here is strings. So we could start off with like strings or pad like we had before. So let me just drag in. Let's go with a pad sound. And here I've got my operator pad. So I'm just going to drop that into tremolo strings. And solo this. So there you go, you've kind of got some chords, and you could do some really interesting things with this. Let's just take these first 8 bars. And then what we could do with this, if we wanted to, we could reverse it and have it play it backwards to just give us something different. You could also invert, so the highest note will switch to the lowest note will switch to the highest. So then what you could go in and do is you could edit the notes the way you want it, or the chords, and you could build a song idea out of these chord structures, right? Without you having to do a whole lot of playing work and figuring out all the theory. Now, if you're doing this to add a different part to an existing song, then you're going to want to make sure it's in the same key. So this is another cool thing, is obviously this is playing in a certain key. Get rid of that just real quick. So let's just say that this is the only part we want, but I'm sure there's a lot of cool goodies in there that you can get inspired by. Like this guitar part here is probably pretty cool too. So anyway, when you find your part, just get rid of everything that you don't need, right? So I'm just gonna drop this and we'll get rid of that as well. And then we'll go back into here. And if we know that our bass line or our part is in D minor, once again, drag this in. And let me try this chain trick. There we go. Oh, that's why. We got to hit these arrows. I should. There we go. So there, now we got D minor. So when I play this, what I'm going to do, just because my CPU probably with recording this video is getting a little choppy, is I'm just going to freeze and flatten. So like so. And then if I go back and turn this on and freeze and flatten, there you go. So there you go, very simple way of grabbing some MIDI parts, manipulating them, and then you can use this tool. And if you have the same issues that I'm having, I don't think you will though, I think it's just recording this video, you can just freeze and flatten it and it'll make it audio in the particular key. So there you go, I hope that helps.